Dystopia, episode 28. When I got up this morning and unmuted my phone, my screen blew up with private messages. So I'll kind of mix in the walk and talk in with this because there were just so many questions. Before I get started on that, if it's a personal thing, I don't mind if you PM me a question. Or if you don't want it to be known who asked the question, I don't mind. However, please, if it can be made as a public comment, please make it on YouTube. Again, it helps build the community. I get you guys talking, and I can talk. We can all kind of jump up a little bit. Please also like the videos on YouTube and subscribe if you will. The likes and dislikes. They help me know what's going on, whether you're happy with the content or not. The likes also push my videos up in recommended videos for other people. Subscription obviously helps, period. If you subscribe and click the bell icon, you can choose to get notifications, so they'll come by email or YouTube on your phone. You'll get a little banner up top that tells you when a new video is released. Picked up 2 new subscribers yesterday. I do have to laugh though. I think I have more on my personal channel than on this one, and I don't post many public videos at all on my personal channel. Typically those are for family and friends. Mostly for family. Oh wow, so many questions today. The first one is a comment I actually got just a few minutes ago. Jim, I heard you. Jim says he prefers less of my mug and more of where I'm going. So I can work on integrating some of that. I did it the first few videos more looking out on the Facebook Live videos, and I kept getting comments to come, to talk to the camera, not show you guys what's around. So it's a mixed bag of nuts, you're not going to make everybody happy, but I trust Jim's feedback for sure. So we'll look at that. Makes it more difficult with these apps again because they don't switch back and forth while you're recording. You have to stop, switch the camera view, record, stop, switch camera view, record. It might be a little bit easier once I get the Lumix back. It is now shipped to be repaired. I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm half waiting for them to come back and say, we're not going to fix it, or it's going to cost X amount of dollars, because that's rough handling or something. And if you know me, I'm not rough on my cameras at all. So, one of the questions this morning, before anybody complains, there's the alcohol right there. I did wash my hands, clean my hands. Tents, shelters, that was more than one question, but I'm kind of combining questions into one. So basically, what do I have for tents and shelters? 3 tents. One is an old Eureka. I believe it was called the Solo. It's from the late 90s. You can just think of it, it's a big bivvy bag. Basically, you can barely sit up in it. But yeah, so there's that one. I have a Eddie Bauer dome tent, 2-person, from probably around that same time period, mid to late 90s. And new last year was a Mountain Smith shelter. I'll post the name right below here because I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it is a shelter. That's it. There's no bottom to it. It just goes straight down on the ground. You hold it up with trekking poles. Wind kicked up there. It kind of caught me off guard. I was like, what the hell is that? The Mountain Smith, again, it's held up with trekking poles. My 1.5-person bathtub fits barely inside of the profile, the footprint of the tent. So we'll give that a try this year. I'll video the different tents as I set them up. I may not ever use the Eureka again. basically just because it's so small. As I've gotten older, I like just a little bit more elbow room. Shelters in general, yeah. So I have those 3 tents. Technically, I don't think the Mountainsmith qualifies as a tent. It's definitely a shelter, but I probably have a dozen different tarps, different sizes, different, whether they're cat cuts or diagonal cuts or standard rectangles, standard squares. Those go in different configurations. Again, I use the bathtub under the tarp just to keep me dry. If you don't know what a bathtub is, think of it as a ground sheet. It's essentially a tarp material, but it has a 2 or 3 inch lip all the way around the perimeter to prevent water from splashing over it. If you've got your shelter angles low enough and you're up against the side, that edge, so the tarp comes down this way, we'll say. Here's the edge of the bathtub. Rain comes down, hits it, and it bounces up, hits the little bathtub side and doesn't splash over onto you. Typically you're in the middle of a tarp setup, but some configurations you do end up towards an edge. I probably have 8 or 10 tarps, or 8 or 10 hammocks. Almost every one of them are double wides. I find single wides I can't lay diagonal enough to get a flat lay. I have war bonnets. I have Hennessy Hammock Expedition ASIM. I have both the traditional bottom entry and the zip. I will probably be selling the bottom entry pretty soon. I always have liked Hennessy hammocks, but invariably I end up with a foot or both feet out of the bottom. If you're not familiar with Hennessy hammocks, we'll just say that this is the hammock setup. As it's suspended in the tree, instead of entering over the top or the side into the hammock, Hennessy hammocks, you typically, on the bottom end, there is a zip, not a zip, but a Velcro slit. And when you get inside of it, all your weight gets put on it and it Velcros that door shut. So you're in it as a traditional hammock. But invariably, my feet are hanging out in the middle of the night at some point. And watching somebody get out of a Hennessy is always hysterical if you've never seen one or seen somebody get in and out, because it looks like the hammock is giving birth. I mean, it's just the right pitch. So yeah, I'll probably sell that one. Again, the war bonnet Hennessy's, I have an Eno, I have a Kamek, I have Buyer of Maine is another one of my screened hammocks. So you're screened in on the top of it, so it doesn't get, you don't get bugs on you all night. I have a Grand Trunk. It's a relatively new hammock for me. I've yet to take that one out camping at all, or even hang it out, take it out to the woods to hang. I can't even remember all of the brand names, but I know somebody will ask which ones do I end up using most. At home, I typically use the Eno. It is the double wide. I forgot that model name, but that's a very comfortable one just to kick back and chill out in and use as a couch. Because it's double wide, you can, if you think of it long ways, you can kind of spin one side down, raise the other side, and it makes a great chair. Very comfortable chair, as well as a comfortable place to lay. Yeah, beyond that, again, please go to YouTube, like, and subscribe. I have a few more, well, I can't say a few more viewers than subscribers. I don't think it's capturing the metrics right. Streak day 117. If anybody's counting. I am. Straighten this up a little bit. Man, some days this Ultra Pod is perfect, and other days the little ball tends to slip just a little bit. It's not like there's any great weight on it, but it does slip a little bit. The other question, there was one on running gear. What do I wear for running? When it was still colder out, I was running in my cool Clash pants. The shoes are always the same whether I'm walking or hiking or running. It's always the Ultra Lone Peak, other than deep snow. And that's when it's the Oboz Bridger boot. So very predictable, because I tend to find gear that works and that's what I use. There's no variation to it. It's kind of boring, but like everything else, you know, you find a system that works and you're not going to change it. I did buy a pair of running pants, just an off-brand, nothing fancy there, and a pair of running shorts. Yeah, they're not quite knee length, but they're pretty long. It's a 9-inch inseam, I think. I'm not flashing back to the 70s and 80s with, you know, Speedos and short shorts. It's what's practical and what makes sense. Trying to remember where, okay, so this is 83. Trying to figure out where I'm at on this trail. This section I've walked and hiked, but not all the way down this part for quite a few years. If I remember correctly, there's a crossing up here where I can get back to the trail on the other side, and that's where I'll be turning around. Alright, and back to it. There were also questions again on stoves, the types of stoves I cook on, so I'll do another video on that. It's like the exposure changed a little bit. Stoves. Oh, the question on Harmony House foods. Why did I pick them over Mountain House? It's not that I picked one over the other. I have a giant box full of Mountain House meals. I use all of them. I do tend to favor Harmony House, mostly because of Harmony House is just that. It's dried vegetables, dried fruit. There's no chemicals induced to make sure that their foods, that they're shelf stable, I mean. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. There's no wizardry behind it. It's just dried food, dried fruit, dried vegetables. All you need is water and time. So it's the whole thing about, you know, keeping it as simple as possible. That said, I love Mountain House. Something about their beef stroganoff or the chili or all of it's good. It's just to try and stay a little more natural, a little healthier. Harmony House kicks butt every time. No salt or minimal salt, and you know, start comparing them side by side. It'll get your attention. I'm trying to think. Okay. I was trying to figure out if I was going to get closer to the building fire that we had a few weeks back here. That intersection was closed. It's kind of a cool view as I unlock the exposure. Sometimes auto exposure is nice, but other times it's a pain in the rump, like when you walk out here. Although it does seem to be moderately better today, I'll still lock it. Spent a good bit of time last night looking at the documentation for the 3 camera packages I'm using, and Open Camera had a few better features. All open camera Filmic offer exposure lock, but playing with it, it to me seemed that for what I'm doing here, open camera might be just a little bit better. Open camera also utilizes the stabilization on the front face, so now you can see I walked in under the bridge, and because the exposure is locked for sunlight, it stayed a little bit darker. But in 5 feet, I think we're right back out in the sunlight. Alright, I am on the intersection of the Centennial and the Cal-Sag Trail. I'm gonna go over here and see if I can get a shot of the sign. So this way is the Cal-Sag Trail. This is the I&M Trail. This is the I&M and Centennial portions of it. But this would actually, if you were hiking the Centennial Trail, its full length, that intersection is actually the terminus of the trail. So from this point you would venture onto the I&M to continue going, well, if you're heading towards Chicago, to the north and northeast. Payless Yellow Trail junctions in up here a little ways, back towards I forgot the preserve name. But yeah, I always like that when people say, you know, oh, I live out in the suburbs, there's only community trails. I don't remember. The article I was reading said if you started at the southern terminus of the Centennial Trail, came up, did the I&M all the way up to Chicago, came back out. I don't like that the buttons are on the camera side, because every time I stick my finger up there, you're seeing it. But yeah, so you came up, you hit the I&M, you went to Chicago, hit the I&M back out to its terminus to the southwest. Well, that used to say mile 4. But yeah, and then head all the way out southwest. It's a 98 mile trail. So then you tie in the Payless trails and all of their intersecting links. It's 200 and some miles of trails around here, so if you can't find any place to walk, you're not looking. And I'm sure that holds true for pretty much everywhere any of you guys live. Just take your time, look for trails. Find your local hiking group. If there's an REI or a Bass Pro or whatever outdoor store that has a hiking section, talk to somebody that works in there. They'll know the trails. And if they don't, you might want to look at another store. So all of these I've found, well, I've known about the I&M, I've known about the Centennial, but how they all link together, actually I've discovered through the Gaia mapping app, looking on their website, and that one as well as All Trails. And you see people's hikes, and if you zoom out, you're like, whoa, they interconnect. I didn't realize that, you know. So you see very quickly how far this expands. Another cyclist. No, 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 no. Woman just passed me on a cycle. Got a guy back here pissing on a telephone pole with a dog. I got so engrossed in you guys, I missed people coming up behind me. And since I just got to it, and it reminded me, there was a question if I could do a video of the old horse bridge, mule bridge. So since I'm here at that point, we shall do it. We'll go back around here and we'll walk over it so I can give you a sense of scale. There's also questions about the history of the I&M Canal. That would be a multi-day video, but when I do hike it, I will run through and try and cover some of the history of it as we go down through there. I'm kind of having to lean over here to block the sun from the screen so I can see what I'm filming, so you can see where the new culvert butts up against it. But there you go, out into the I&M. So this would have been the old path continuing down. I'll turn around and give you guys a look back over it. So for the width, I'm going to sit on one rock, one side of it, and extend my feet out. So there you go, my hip is barely even on this side, and now my toes are stretched out to the other side. It's really cool when you walk this and you see the old structures that haven't been removed. For me, it always makes me wonder about the history of them. And, sorry. So then I'll just start walking it. Camera cable's in the way. Yeah, I do love the I&M, and the history of it is pretty amazing. Alright guys, and I guess that's it. So now that I'm at the end of this, in between here has all been cut up and put in the videos. And yep, I'll leave it at that, right? Be good, be well, take care of yourself. We'll see you tomorrow. Pissing me off today.